Greetings, I'm Dr. Troy Podell. Welcome to this very special edition of the Career Cafe program. With me today is Downingtown alum and financial planner, certified financial planner, Mr. Jeff Hall. Jeff, thank you so much for being with us.
Dr. Troy, thank you for having me today.
So, Jeff, I'd like to begin with a bit of an exposition about what exactly do you do as a financial planner?
There's a wide array of what we do, but I'll tell you, we're not Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
Right? And we're not just money managers either. So the one thing that I really love is every single day is different. Financial planning is money management for sure, but there's risk management, so it's insurance planning, there's cash flow planning, college planning, estate planning, and it's not just that you're going to focus on one thing. For most people, they need to cover every single aspect of financial planning, and most of them have never even considered it. And by the time they start planning, it's too late.
So, what's the best part of your job, Jeff?
That's a good question. I probably didn't even fully answer the last question on what I do every single day. Because what we are doing every single day is we're helping people. Right? So, when I hear from somebody, and we've been working together for 6 months or a year or 3 years down the road, and they sit down, and we're sitting down for the review, and they're like, Jeff, I never would have done this without you. We're 30 years old, and 3 years ago we started working together, and you convinced us to start saving towards college, towards our retirement, towards a beach house that we want to buy, and all of a sudden we have $60,000 that we saved. We maybe could have done it on our own, but we did it because you pushed us. And knowing that so many people probably have the knowledge, and talk about you can find all the knowledge on the internet, but they don't know how to put it all together, knowing that we put together a plan for them and actually made a difference in their life, that's the most valuable thing.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's also like, it's not only part advice, but it's part coaching and not hand-holding, but encouragement, and sort of like the conscience on your shoulder that's getting you to do the right thing and be intentional and planful with your money.
That's exactly right. I think about it a lot of times where too many people will make the wrong decision, right? If we're talking about investments, when are you supposed to buy, right? Are you supposed to buy when the market's high or when it's low, right? We want to buy when it's low, but nobody actually wants to buy when it's low, right? Because they're looking at an investment that's down 20%. They're like, I'm not going to buy that. That thing is a dud. That's where we can step in and say, no. Now's the time where you want to buy. It's cheap to buy.
It's devalued or undervalued.
Right. But they're not going to do that on their own. Most of the time, they won't do that on their own. On the flip side, the stock market really just went for a huge run. And now they're talking to all their friends, and they're saying you should buy XYZ stock, or now, I just made this much money.
All of a sudden.
Right, I made this much money last year. You should get in. Well, it's probably too late. And so they're all buying at the top. And then the market turns and it drops, and then they sell because they didn't have any advice. So having somebody there to say, no, don't sell now, or you just made some really good money. Maybe we should take some of those gains off the top. So it is just having that voice of reason, because most people are going to be irrational and not do the right thing. I'll also have to have the right plan. Probably about 4 years ago, I was working with a young couple, and they invested a nice lump sum of money with me, but they didn't have a plan of moving. And all of a sudden they found this dynamite house. They really wanted to move, and they needed the majority of that money that they had just put into that account. We hadn't talked about that as even being a possibility, because it wasn't a possibility. That month the market was down 15%. So they had to sell into that loss, and there was nothing we could do. So it's important to also really articulate what the plan is as well.
So it's having goals, it's setting realistic timetables. On that topic of goal setting and on timetables, Jeff, if you could please kindly take us back to, you're out of Downingtown High, right, class of 99.
Yeah.
How do you get from there to here as certified financial planner and helper of people?
Sure. Out of Downingtown High. Well, first of all, just some advice that I want to give is high school was easy for me. And so I never really had to even try, which was an issue. because as soon as I got to college, I went in, I thought I wanted to be an architect. And so I went into the architectural engineering program at Penn State, and it was a lot of work. And I never had to work before. And so all of a sudden, now school was hard. And it was very hard in some of the courses, and I decided maybe this actually isn't for me. And that was just a matter of probably being a little bit underprepared, just for what college was. So I decided to switch to the business school, but I still wasn't sure what I was going to do in business. Talking with a good friend's dad, he was a venture capitalist. And the whole idea with venture capitalism is you go in, you find a business that's failing or struggling, take over the business, improve where they're failing, and then turn around for a profit. So it's really just improving where the deficiencies are. And so I went into business logistics, with the idea there being learn business inefficiencies. I thought that's what I wanted to do. And I went to the career fair. I went to Penn State. I was at the last semester career fair, and I didn't have anything that I really wanted to do, so I took a co-op. And that co-op was awful. I sat in front of the desk all day, and I was looking at shipping for the company and seeing where their inefficiencies were. I really didn't feel like I was actually doing anything. And I'm in my last semester of school, and I had no idea what I wanted to do now. So I had a good friend who was working in the financial services industry, and he said, you can come in, it's going to be an entry-level job. You're not going to be making much money at first, but if you really put yourself out there, you might be able to get a sales position here, and those guys are making really good money. So I went in and dedicated myself right away. And 3 months out of school, I had one of the outside sales jobs, which is really, it's a very well established job that nobody out of school usually gets. But I'm 3 months out of college. I don't know anything about the stock market. So what I'm doing at the time is I'm a financial wholesaler. And hopefully this is not too long drawn out.
No, not at all.
But I'm a financial wholesaler. And so as a financial wholesaler, I worked for one of the large investment companies, and I needed to go meet with financial advisors. So a financial advisor will sit down with their client, and the financial advisor is going to come up with a plan, and then they're going to recommend what products they think are appropriate for that plan for that client.
You provided those products.
I wanted, every time that this particular product was going to be a fit, I wanted them to use my product as opposed to this company versus this company. It was a great job. And at the time, we had one of the top products in the country, so it was a pretty easy sell. But I'll tell you, I started to meet a lot of financial advisors at the time, and one of the very first meetings that I was ever supposed to have in that job, the financial advisor who I'd never met before called me, and he said, I had a marketing budget. He knew I had a marketing budget. He said, I'd like for you to come support a dinner for some of my clients. And so I said, sure. He had been doing business with my predecessor. And as I showed up at that dinner, he said, you know what, can you just pay the bill? I don't want you to talk to my clients. And I learned after the fact, he just took his friends and family out to dinner on my bill. I'm like, all right, I got took advantage of, but also, there's some dirtballs out there. As I was wholesaling, I was doing very well. I bought a house at 25 years old, but the company I was working for, they started to become out of favor. So our product was not as good anymore. But now I'm meeting with a lot of these financial advisors, and they're telling me, listen, I know that there's better products out there, but I like you, or I like your marketing dollars. So if you support this event, then I promise that I'll put my clients in your product this year. And all of a sudden, I felt dirty. Like, I know that there's better products out there. I can't represent them. I can only represent what I have. The advisors know that there's better products out there, but they're willing to put their clients into something inferior because I'll support a dinner or a seminar.
Them, yeah.
Right, exactly. And at that point, I knew I couldn't represent just one product, because when it's good, it's good. Or really great when it's good. But if you don't have a good product, you either have to continue to hop companies, or you need to find a way to be able to be agnostic and truly be able to represent what you think is best. And so that's where I decided this is the side I wanted to get on. I wanted to become a financial advisor because I knew there was a lot of guys who I didn't feel were on the up and up, And I wanted to make sure that every time I was talking to a client, that the solutions that I were going to present was going to be the absolute best thing for them, and not just something that's going to pay me the most or is because my buddy sells the product.
How did you come to the determination that ethics in business was like really important to you?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. I don't know that there was an actual tipping point. It really was before I came onto this side, and I think it was the fact of just talking to some of these advisors and being like, how can you possibly put your client in something that you know there's something better than out there?
Right.
It really came back to being on this side, and it was prior to coming to this side, but at the same time, I'm still making really good money as a wholesaler. And I knew that if I was going to start as a financial advisor, a rookie financial advisor, I wasn't going to be making anything.
You have to hit the reset button, yeah.
Yeah, Troy, my first year from wholesaling to becoming a financial advisor, I made 1/10 of what I made the year before. So I knew it was a full reset, and nobody really does that. I was fortunate, I was young enough when I made the decision. I wasn't married, I didn't have children yet, so I was able to do it. And I think for a lot of people that are trying to get into this business, starting early while you can still afford to live on just a little bit, I think is going to be an advantage that they'll have.
What other advice do you have for folks watching right now who might want to break into the business of financial advising?
Sure.
What should your high school senior or junior be looking at?
Yeah, a couple things. The first thing is, right now, the average age of a financial advisor is close to 60 years old. So a lot of these advisors, the men and women that are financial advisors, within the next 10 years are going to be getting out of the business. And most of them don't have a successor. So number one, find one of those advisors, because they have 30, 40 years of experience, and they also need somebody to take over their business.
I was about to say they have a client role too that
Right.
needs to be taken care of.
Right, somebody's going to need to take care of that for them. And going in, they're probably not going to pay that much, but what you're going to get in the beginning is experience. You're going to get to learn to meet their clients, and then eventually you're going to take over that business. So that's don't try and just go to, XYZ insurance company, because they're going to try and get you to sell just their products. And most of the time what happens is you're going to go in, you're going to introduce your friends and family to that company. You're going to realize that this is pretty hard. You're going to decide to take another route, and then your friends and family are stuck with those potentially inferior products. And again, find a team. Don't try and do it on your own. Because if you try and do it on your own, number one, you don't know if what you're doing is necessarily right.
Right.
Maybe the person who's training you isn't necessarily doing it right as well, but I think it's important to be on a team that you're going to be able to get a lot of different ideas. Every single Wednesday, our team, we get together and we talk about every single thing that we're working on, and we all help each other working collaboratively. It's really important. I do a study group. So right now there's 10 of us throughout the country. We get together twice a year and just share ideas. It's really important that you continue to be on top of your game. Some of these 60-year-old advisors that have been doing it for as long as they have, this young kid that comes in is probably going to offer a lot that the financial advisor who's doing it for years doesn't even realize is out there.
Right.
Because they're stuck in their ways. And for their clients, they've only done things one way. So there's going to be a huge opportunity for young people to get into the business, but don't just go into a sales position, come into a training position in the beginning.
And try to learn as much as you can before you start selling.
For sure. Yeah, and to that point on the selling as well, if you're out there and you're struggling and it's so important to you that you need to make that sale, that's going to cloud your judgment. And a lot of times you're probably going to push something that either has a higher pay or maybe isn't exactly appropriate just because you got to get paid. So it's important that and I think that the best way for this business to be built, you have to have some type of salary or draw so that you're not completely struggling in the beginning. Maybe you're learning not necessarily how to sell, but learning how to plan for people. Because when you build a financial plan for somebody, you're not selling. You've built them this plan, and they know that they need some of these solutions, and you're just providing the solutions then.
Right, you're filling a need and helping folks rather than trying to push something onto them.
Right.
When I used to sell, I always said that like I can show up with a whole toolbox and I know how to use all the tools. And if I show up and all I'm doing is pitching you this hammer, like sometimes I'm going to find somebody that actually needs a hammer, and that's great. Sometimes I'm going to find somebody that doesn't need a hammer that I've convinced needs a hammer, and that's really bad.
For sure.
Right? And there's lots of people that may need a screwdriver or may need a power drill, and I have those, but I'm too busy hawking this hammer at you because the commission is good for me. And it makes no sense when I could have more sales if I'm just having conversations and listening to people and providing them solutions rather than pushing on them what my agenda is.
Sure. Well, and you talked about the ethics side. It's going to catch up with you.
It has to.
Right? If you're doing something that's maybe not right for somebody, they're going to tell all their friends. And if they know anybody else that's working with you, then you could kill your name by doing 3 bad deals, right? So your name is going to be everything in this business. Now another thought is, if you're trying to get in, really learn the business. You know, I started in 2004 on this side of the business, out there talking to people. The stock market had just taken a huge dive before. I didn't even understand the stock market, and I'm out there trying to sell financial products to people. I hadn't studied it all, and I'm talking to our team. I'm like, why would anybody buy any of these products? They lost 30% over the past 2 years. Like, so did everything else.
Right.
But I had no idea, right? So really learn. And it might be a good idea to start with one of these big brokerage houses or, you know, a local company here, and really learn your way through, really understand the industry, but not just investments. Right? Because the financial planning aspect, there's people out there that just do insurance, people that just do estate planning, people that just do tax work. They all need to play together and build that plan, and that's where the financial planner comes in. And you know, part of my day-to-day is almost every day I'll meet with an accountant, a divorce attorney, an estate planner, and we'll sit down and we'll either discuss one of our collective clients or just share ideas of, here's some things that we should be looking out for so that we can be working together. It's not just I'm trying to sell mutual funds to somebody. Right? It's what's their tax plan going to be for the year? Should we have them do 401k? Should we have them do a SEP, a simple? What's the plan going to be for this person?
I want to conclude with this question, and thank you so much. This has been such a treasure trove of information and advice for our young folks watching. I want to ask you to envision, you've got 17-year-old Jeff Hall by the shoulders. What do you tell him?
Yeah. Well, you know what, kid? You have no idea what you're going to do, and that's okay. But things are going to change. They always change. And I think it's important to be flexible and be willing to accept the change. Right? My first year of college, I had no clue, and I had to pivot the second year. At the end of college, I had no clue. 6 years later, I had no clue what I was going to do next. I thought I knew what I was going to do next. But it's going to change, but as long as ethically you're going to be on the right path, then I think everything's going to work out. Don't sell yourself out.
Do right by others, right?
For sure.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Jeff, I want to thank you for that sage advice and for all your help today.
Yep.
That'll do it for this very special edition of the Career Cafe.
Thank you.